What up? What up? What up, you guys? It's Blackwing 2040. Welcome back to the Power Rangers Marathon, because today is the final season review of Power Rangers Beast Morphers, and this is the last Power Rangers season review I'm doing for the whole year, because having to go through the entire franchise, 27 seasons, having to watch all 26 plus Beast Morphers Season 2 as it was airing, it was a lot to keep track of, but this is pretty much the end of the Power Rangers Marathon. And honestly, if I could say Beast Morphers as a whole, Beast Morphers really is a great season. It is just the things that they did, the people that they had on the production side regarding the season, they did a phenomenal job. And kind of, still coming off the Neil Saban era, there are a few bits here and there regarding, like moral of the day and everything, yada yada yada, but overall the season went well, really well. Now, actually, here are some notes. Actually, before I even get to the notes, I'll just give a brief synopsis of where season 2 picks up at. So at the end of season 1, the Rangers quote unquote defeated Evox. Blaze and Roxy were awakened from their comas after they defeated their avatars, and now pieces at peaceful days in Coral Harbor, right? Wrong. So it turns out Evox is still alive, but here's the kicker. Apparently he has fused with the mayor, who is Devin's father. So kind of like how Doomwing and Zenowing were, same two bodies, but they shared the same body, like in Dino Charge, and like Mesogog in Power Rangers Dino Thunder. And so the Rangers didn't know that the mayor is secretly Evox, and it's just a great twist in how they use the storytelling elements within this season. It's just fantastic, and there was a lot of stuff going on this season. Heck, there's a whole lot of stuff that I can't even mention off the top of my brain. Like, the season respects the Ranger legacy and everything. We have the big epic Dino team up, which I'm pretty much that's gonna be a topic within its own in this review. And just, how the season was going to, how they were gonna end it off. Because there were so many things I didn't think that they were gonna do this season that they actually ended up doing. So let's get into my notes. So I have some positives. Like I say, I got some positives here. So, like I said earlier, acknowledging the Ranger legacy, and what I mean by that is there's a vault, a Ranger vault, that has pretty much a weapon, a morpher from all past seasons, and I'm just like, I'm looking at that scene like I'm a kid in the candy store right there, and it was incredible. Now, if anything, if Super Mega Force actually did something like this, Super Mega Force would have been a whole lot better. But the fact that they put this here, I still enjoyed it. Just to see, SPD morphers, weapons from Lightspeed Rescue, some weapons from Dino Thunder, some weapons from Dino Chart. There was a whole lot of weapons in that vault. It was just incredible. And the Rangers even get to use them in the final episode of Season 2. So the fact that they even just, had the chance to use these past weapons, it was just incredible. I love that. Now, another positive I have here, the good usage of Gavin. Now, what do I mean by that? So, in Go Busters, their Sentai counterpart, they had a 2-part team-up episode with a metal hero called Uchu Keiji Gavin, which translates to Space Sheriff Gavin. And one of the reasons why they did this in Go Busters was because Gavin had a movie that was coming out in 2012. So I didn't expect them to do this. So the way how they did this in Beast Morphers, they had the Gavin suit, and they have, an alien, space cop who goes by Captain Chaku. And he pretty much is kind of, half machine and everything. But the cool thing is, he's a space sheriff. He has a space captain. He has a daughter, which was also incredible. And the way how he teams up with the Rangers and everything, it just goes off. It's written very well. And, the monster of the week in that particular episode, Ryjack, which I thought it was an original monster, but it actually was also in the Gavin team up with Go Busters. He even brings in the Putties and the Vivics. I was like, wait a minute. They're starting here with the team up episode. I'm like, oh shoot. Incredible. And again, I have my suspicions about this because when it comes to copying and pasting things, it doesn't turn out well. But here with Beast Morphers, they actually did it well. They actually kind of, made it their own. And it was satisfying. It was so satisfying. All right. My next positive is good continuation of plot points from season 1. Now, what I mean by that, you have, a specific plot point like Robbie, who is a painter, and his mother, who's pretty much against painting or any creativity that that goes on in Grid Battle Force. And the fact that in season 2, he actually steps up and tells his mom that, like, yes, I'm a painter, I like to paint. And she accepts it for because I understand with her being in the position that she's in, but she's still, able to accept Robbie's talents and gifts because, one, he's putting his life out on the line every day for the city, and 2, he's her son. So I'm glad that they were able to rectify that here in season 2. It was awesome. And another plot point is there was an episode in season 1 where someone was trying to get a job at Grid Battle Force, and then she was trying to blackmail Zoey because she found that Zoey and Nate were quote unquote on a date. And later on, this same girl comes back because she creates a Zord that could be helpful for the Rangers. And when Nate found out that she was coming back, he was furious. He was through the roof. He was like, what's she doing here? The last time she was here, she tried to get Zoey in big trouble. I'm not with this. Heck no. Get her out of here. But they were still able to do something with this. And she felt bad for what she has done. And she wanted to rectify her past mistakes. And Nate pretty much forgave her. And with that, she created a new Zord for the team. And boom, there it is. It's just storytelling done well. Now, my next bit is two references. A Dino Thunder reference because, like I said earlier, with Ebox and Mayor Daniels in the same body, of course, there's a specific limit on how, Ebox is supposed to be in charge in the driver's seat of his body. And then, sometimes Mayor Daniels will switch back to, his self. And when the Rangers found out about this, it just took me back to like, oh, that happened in Dino Thunder when the Rangers found out that Anton Mercer was Mesogog. So there's a lot of references to past seasons here. If like Beast Morphers feels like an anniversary season, but it's not. But it kind of feels like an anniversary season. And that's the cool thing about it. And the next point I have here, the RPM continuation. Now, for those of you who watch Power Rangers RPM, you guys know how the season ended off kind of, you could say, on a cliffhanger because when the Rangers, put all their morphers away, Scott's morpher was still on, revealing that Venjix was still inside. So how they continued this story here in season 2, it's revealed that when Nate was a kid, he was testing out one of the cell ship morphers, which was pretty much Scott's morpher, with Morphex and Snake DNA. And that created Ebox. So pretty much the twist of this entire season is that Venjix was Ebox the entire time. The fact that you have one of the most coldest, cruel villains in Power Rangers history return like this, that was an excellent way to bridge the gap here. And the cool thing is, Dr. K makes a return twice in this season because Devin needed help on how the way to, separate Ebox from his father. She was able to help him out, and then she also came back later on, close to around, the second to last episode of the season, because she has a thing with dealing with computer viruses. And another reason why I said RPM continuation is because Scrozzle, he kind of gets, he kind of sneaks away to Corinth, but Commander Stanton brings him Scrozzle to Grid Battle Force, and at that moment Devin is in charge of Grid Battle Force. So the fact that we get to see two brothers in high commanding positions, that was beautiful to see. And again, I just love how they just bridged the gap with the whole RPM thing. It was able to end the RPM storyline perfectly. Now, of course, with some positives, I have to mention some negatives. My first negative is this. Barely any usage of Blaze and Roxy. Now, here's what I mean. Blaze and Roxy have awakened from their coma, which is good. Now, they only show up about like once or twice. And then Scrozzle comes in just to steal some DNA from them because he needs it to create evil versions of Blaze and Roxy called Robo Blaze and Robo Roxy. So there's the reason for that. But my problem is with, their robotic counterparts running around, why not have, the original Blaze and Roxy around doing something instead of just appearing in just like 1 or 2 episodes and then they just kick the bucket? Have them around. Do something with them. Don't just leave them high and dry. Like, they were in a coma for a whole season. Have them do something, at least. My next negative, the body switching episode and the musical. Now, there's an episode here in season 2 where Nate and Steel switch bodies, and Steel gets to see what it feels like to be human. Here's my pet peeve. I don't like body switching episodes. The reason why, because the Neo Saban era, pretty much every single season had a body switching episode, and I'm sick of that trope. I don't like it. I don't want to see it ever again. And then the fact that you have a whole musical number of Steel just getting so excited to see how it is to be human, it just really strange. It's just, why do we need a musical number about it? Granted, I have a love-hate relationship thing when it comes to musicals, but we don't need a whole musical number just for him to see how great it is. Like, come on. And literally, that's the name of the number, how great it is to be human. Ugh. And my last negative, barely any usage of the B spots. The B spots are there. Of course, they're in the cockpit of the Zords, but they're barely around this season. It's like they're practically absent, except for Cruz. I mean, Cruz is around, and Cruz is Devin's only way of getting around to destinations faster, but you barely see Smash, and you barely see Jax around either. So I'm like, that actually makes sense. Like, the B spots are practically absent here. I like the B spots, but I'm just like, where are they? Come on, bring them in. Alright, and now my last topic to talk about in this review is the team-up itself. Granted, I was very skeptical about them doing this team-up because I did not know how they were going to do this. Because, with when Kyryuger came out, and then they adapted Kyryuger into Dino Charge, people were thinking, oh, we're going to get that team-up. And regardless, we couldn't get that team-up because we didn't have a Go Busters adaptation. But now they were able to do this. But I was very skeptical on how they were going to do this because that's a lot of Dino Rangers. So all I can say is the way how they pulled it off leading up to the team up, it was very well done. Because that's actually one of my first topics on my notes here. Excellent build up toward the episode. The fact that we had, the Dino Charge Rangers come back and Sledge and his crew return, I was like, okay, they're pulling out all the stops here. And they were able to blend in the movie footage of that team up here very well. And I'm glad about that. And we even got to see, the fact that we got to see both teams full, all 6 members of the Dino Charge of the Dino Charge team, and all 5 Beast Morphers teams together on the same screen, in the same spot. It just felt great to see. I mean, not all the Dino Charge Rangers came back, but 2 of them did return for voiceover to do lines, which was nice. And we also had, Brendan Mejia, we had, Davi Santos, we had Yoshi Sudarso, and we also had, I forgot Chase's actor's name again. But the fact that they were able to come back and do this, it was great. It was really, really great. Now, my next note, a decent clip show. Now, yes, they had a clip show in this episode, and I find it interesting. This is pretty much, I could say, one of the better clip shows in this season because it's the villains pretty much trying to find, think of a villain to bring back. And I never expected them to actually do something like this. Granted, I know a lot of people don't like the voice dubs that they chose for some of the villains. Yes, granted they didn't sound right, but I was happy to see them actually use this footage again. So the fact that clip show actually happened, it was actually pretty decent. It ended up being very well. And my next clip, note, the usage of stock footage. Now in the final battle with all the Rangers using, their 3 Dino Megazords, the fact that they actually used stock footage of the Megazord cockpit was very, very interesting, because in the Japanese movie, it was just a white void. But the fact that they were able to get this footage, it didn't bother me. It just really looked very interesting. They really looked very well. It was done very well. And my last note, not enough screen time for Jason. Now, I know everybody was hyping up this team up was because the return of Jason Lee Scott, the original Red Ranger, was coming back. And I was happy to see Austin St. John return, but the fact that we didn't get really an explanation of what he was doing all these years, where has he been, what's been up to, and this is the original Red Ranger, and he barely gets any lines. And the funny thing is, when Devin brings Jason over to the Dino Charge Earth, Tyler's like, we don't have time for introduction right now. I'm like, do you know who you're talking to? This is your superior here. Like, if it wasn't for him, y'all wouldn't be Rangers. Come on, show some respect. But all in all, the team up within itself, it was good. I just wish that Jason had, more to do. But hey, the return of Jason Lee Scott was more than enough to be satisfied. Now, I want to talk about the Rangers individually as a whole. Now, starting off with Devin, the fact that we got another brother as a Red Ranger, it's always awesome to see. Now, one thing I just didn't really like, though, is how in the team up episode there's a portion where Keeper says, like, Devin, I have seen something from the morphing grid and you're gonna get hit by a meteor. And Devin's just straight up, I'm like, okay, I think the morphing grid is just lying. And turns out he actually kind of does get hit by a meteor, and it just goes to the point of just how, like, they just make the morphing grid like the Force here from Star Wars. Why? But another thing that kind of bugs me, though, is how at the end of the season where it makes that time skip, Devin is in charge of Grid Battle Force, but Devin had no interest whatsoever to being commander of Grid Battle Force in the first place. There was no explanation to it whatsoever. But overall, as a character and as a Ranger, Devin was great from beginning to end. And even in the beginning, he wasn't so hog wild just to, lead the team. He was chosen. Like, when Zoey and Robbie were arguing on who should lead, Devin was pretty much like, you know what, I'll lead. And it was great. Alright, now next up is Robbie. Robbie, I felt like he didn't do much. Granted, yes, he's a person who's by the book of everything, but I do like how his struggle with, dealing, how his mother's going to react to him painting, and of course his relationship with Roxy, because in Grid Battle Force, Rangers aren't allowed to date, and this kind of coincides with Zoey and Nate as well. But the way how they were able to bounce this off with Robbie and the multiple plot points that he had, it was actually pretty good. Only one thing that kind of bugged me, though, is that one episode in Season 2 where Roxy kind of gets upset at Robbie because another woman, it turns out it was an older woman who had his number, and Roxy was just making a big fuss about it. It was just a petty argument that was just unnecessary. But overall, Robbie's not that bad of a Ranger. Alright, next up is Zoey. I like Zoey in the beginning. It's just, here in Season 2, Zoey does things that makes you question, like, what are you doing? Like, she's making rookie mistakes. For instance, in the team-up episode where they find Keeper, Zoey immediately, like, arrests Keeper for, being the monster. And later on, she gets a huge tongue lashing from Tyler. It just makes her feel like she just made the biggest mistake of her life. I'm just like, wow, that is a big rookie mistake. But her relationship with Nate and how she's able to be like his ultimate supporter and everything, it was actually done well. It was really done well. And speaking of Nate, Nate, I feel he's the MVP of both seasons. Granted, yes, he's the cause of Vengex becoming Evox and everything, but Nate overall, pretty much, he is the MVP of both seasons. And everything, I gravitated to liking Nate so much, to even when he became a Ranger, all the way to the end of the show. Nate is straight up one of the best six Rangers ever. And last but not least, Steel. I like Steel. Steel, he's very egotistic, and of course, when he became human for that one episode, though, it was kind of nice of him to step in Nate's shoes and feel what it feels like to be human. But my nitpick that I have is how in the final episode he gets killed, but they bring him back and he has a human body. Yes, I understand that, Steel was only fascinated of wanting to be human in just one episode. And I think if they actually just, killed off Steel and have him stay dead, it would have a lot of, this would have made the season a whole lot darker, a lot more drastic. But I guess I understand that they want to give the season a happy ending, which is fine. But I just find it weird that they just decided just pull, just pull a reverse card and just make him human again. And on top of that, they don't use the actor's real voice. They just use Steel's voice actor to dub the actor's voice. It didn't make any sense. But overall, Power Rangers Beast Morphers Season 2 was excellent. And overall, Beast Morphers was a nice touch. So, thank you guys so much for watching. In the comment section below, what did you like about Power Rangers Beast Morphers? What was your favorite episode? What did you think of the team-up episode and the return of Jason Scott? And also, how the season acknowledges the Ranger legacy and Ranger history, too. So, let me know in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and click that bell to be notified. And as always, I am Vengeance, I am Darkness, I am Blackwing. Stay golden, and may the power protect you.